Hi everyone, you're with Lucy from Artshed Angel, and I'm really happy to be today presenting something that we're going to use for International Women's Day. So I'm going to show you how to add tissue paper onto a candle. So I've got a candle here. Now this one's got a bit of staining and that on it, so that was from my hands. And what I need for this is tissue paper. So this is just a very, very thin tissue paper. Now, International Women's Day is really, really important, and I think making a candle can be something to remember times. We do it for remembering birthdays and things like that. So this is something you can create to have anything on it, or even light at times where you just need to be reminded how special you are. So if you like the video, please make sure you subscribe, and please make sure you go to Live Art Journaling and Self-Development to have a look at the other videos that are going to be supplied. So the thing I have here is tissue paper. Now this tissue paper is very, very thin. It's the one you get for wrapping. It's what they wrap around shoes and things like that, or cups and things like that. So, you know, usually they give you a wad of it. So I just keep it and straighten it out, and it's really, really good. Now what we're going to use with it is alcohol inks and alcohol blending solution. So I've put alcohol blending solution in a spray bottle, and these are alcohol inks. And these three colours I'm going to use is Mermaid, Limeade and Raspberry, and they're from Couture Creations. So I'm using a glass mat, and what I'm going to do is just put drops of this ink all over my mat, because I want to cover that whole page. So we don't need it all, but all that's left over you can use in your art journals. I have another video there where you can just see how I've made lots of different papers for backgrounds. Okay, so it's really nice to have a candle that you can light. Now, you're probably all thinking I'm using alcohol here, I'm going to put it around a candle, and it could be dangerous. Once the alcohol has disappeared from this, it is quite safe to put it around the candle. It's actually going to be embedded into the candle, which is really important. So the alcohol is really just to disperse the ink. It does disappear, and you can quite safely light the candle. Okay, so, but obviously I would always put a candle like this in a glass jar because it's got paper around it, so that you can't light anything else in your house, because you always want to take safety precautions whenever you're doing anything with lit objects. So what I'm doing here is I'm just turning the tissue paper over and over to pick up as much ink as I can on that page. Now you can spray it again if you like, just to get the last bits off. Now the beauty of this, and I don't know if you've ever used tissue paper before, but the beauty of this is that the tissue paper is not crinkling up and getting soaking wet. Because we've used alcohol, the tissue paper is really still very clean, very straight, and that's why I'm using alcohol inks and not normal water with this. So it is really a project to do with alcohol inks. Now I'm just going to dry this off, and once this is dry, it absolutely disperses all the ink from it. All that alcohol leaving it perfectly flat. Okay, so we have this now. We have this beautiful piece of paper, and I want to put some words on it. So I've got these words from my range that says "Hello, lovely," and I want everybody to remember how important they are. And sometimes lighting a candle when you're sad or when you're happy is something to remind you of days. So I'm going to put some words around the candle. Now I'm just using whichever ink I want. So long as the ink dries on your tissue paper, you are going to be okay with it. So put your ink on there. I think I'm also going to stamp a butterfly. So just grab that out. Sadly, this butterfly is now sold out, but I do really think it's a lovely one to use on this paper. So I'm just going to use my mat for stamping and put my butterfly where I want it. I'm going to put it about there, I think. I'm going to put a couple of butterflies on and they'll just turn out however they will. This is just decorating it. Now you can decorate this absolutely however you want to. So just pick that up. I think the one butterfly will do. And just put that over there and wipe it clean. So I'm not going to give you lots of ideas. I wanted to make this video fairly short, but I wanted to actually say that you can do things like mark making on this tissue paper. So I'm just using a Sharpie here. So if you've got pictures you want to trace, you can absolutely trace things out of magazines. You can trace faces. So I'm just doing some really quick things here, so that might make this video fairly short because you have so many others to watch for International Women's Day. So you can use that. You can use your Signo broads on it and do some mark making. I would like some swirls. If it gets hard to do it on this, I'm doing it on the glass mat, so it's quite difficult. Remember with your Signos though, the slower that you go, the better the line turns out. So we've got this really pretty paper. Now this paper can then be used in your art journals as homemade tissue paper, and you'll find if you use inks that dry and then don't bleed well later, so the Versaclares, once they're dry, they don't bleed, you can watercolour with them. You can then create some really, really nice tissue paper for your own use. I'm just drying this off. The best thing with these sort of things, so that you don't crinkle your paper, is to let it dry naturally, but obviously I'm wanting to make a video, so I want to do it fairly quickly. Now, because I want the candle to roll in it, and I actually do want that butterfly to be on the candle, what I'm going to do is draw a line along the bottom, just kind of measure where the candle will fall, and it's actually going to go halfway through that word. So I'm just going to draw a line along there, and this is just so that I get a basic guide of where it's going to go on the candle. Now, if these things smudge a little bit, it's just because I'm rushing through it. I don't want to hold you up too long, but I didn't want to do a speed video doing this. Okay, so you can see we're going to have this beautiful butterfly on the candle with some words. So what we want to do now, make sure that the butterfly is on there, and we want to do a crease it that way, and then crease it that way, and that way you know that that's where you have to cut it. And it is better if you let the actual inks dry a little bit longer than I have. I also leave a little bit of an overlap. It's nicer to have an overlap than it is to have it cut off. So now I could also measure how tall that candle is. So I'm just going to measure how tall the candle is, because I want to have the right amount. So I'm just going to do it at 140, which is just below the top of the candle. It's really nice to have a candle or something that you can burn to celebrate, I think. So 140. Actually, I must measure that. That wasn't. I might have to cut another little bit off here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line up here because I want to make sure I get the butterfly. And then I'll cut a little bit off the bottom. So International Women's Day is such a time to actually think about our relationships and the people we care about and the women that actually have taught us things. So how lovely is that butterfly on there? So you could have done the butterfly lower too. It was really up to you where you put it. So I've got this approximately just below the top, and I can trim it, and I can see that it's going to overlap at the back. I'm just going to straighten it out a little bit. So, okay, it's all sitting nicely. A little bit lower. So get it in the position you want. Then what you need is a piece of baking paper. So this is baking paper or grease-proof paper. What I'm going to do first is just put a little bit of tape just here on the bottom, just to hold that in place. You can see how nice the butterfly looks on there. Then we're going to do the magic stuff now. I'm going to tightly wrap this candle. What I'm going to do though is I'm not going to overlap that too much. So I'm just looking at where that overlaps. I'm going to cut that away. There's method to my madness. So you need to do this step. It's really, really important, and I'm not going to do it over the butterfly. So I've got this over here. I'm doing it really tight. And then I'm going to just put a bit of tape. Okay, so now is where the magic happens. I'm going to use now my heat gun, and I'm going to heat it. Now this is a heat tool, okay? It's not a hairdryer. I'm using this one because it's nice and quiet so I can talk. But you need to just gently heat, but do not stay in one spot. Now I don't know if you can see how the butterfly is getting darker? I'll just step away. You know that it's right when you can actually see the butterfly. So what happens is the wax goes through the tissue paper, and now it is touching the baking paper. And when it does that, there's like a level of wax over the top of the tissue paper. So the tissue paper sinks into the wax from the candle. Now this is just a candle from a cheapie shop. Again, when you light this, make sure it's in a glass jar. I don't recommend lighting any candles with paper around them in just an open container. I mean, there's a glass jar that's as tall as the candle. So I'm just going around and heating it. You can see how the colours come up. Once you start to get that nice colour, you can take your candle, you can take your paper off the candle, and you'll see that the actual tissue paper has now moulded into the candle. And what I do is just go over it a second time, rolling it gently, because that brings the wax to the top and it kind of gets a sweat about it. and it also gets really glossy. But don't overheat it. If you overheat it, you're going to have streams of wax coming through and you'll actually ruin it. So you don't want it to get to the stage where the wax is running down the candle. Okay, if you've done that, you've gone too far. So if you start to get running wax, just heat it and straighten it up again. So there we have a beautifully decorated candle. You can do much more with the decorating, and I find what's a really good thing to do is with your hands while it's warm. Now it's not that hot that it's going to burn me. I just give it a rub just to make it sure it's all in there, and all you're doing is getting wax on your hands. You're not actually doing anything bad to your hands. Then you can give it a little bit of a trim around the edges, make sure that the edges are neat, and make sure you put it in a container. I like to also then get a piece of ribbon or something pretty, and you can add a piece of ribbon to the candle. A little bit lower. Again, we need to watch it when it's burning if we're going to be putting things onto it. But you can tie a ribbon around. Just let me move this heat gun. Now, I do candles all the time for weddings, and I've never had a problem with any of these candles. So you can do a little tie-up bow here. You can do a really neat bow, but I'm just going to do something quick, and I would trim the ends of that bow. And we have something very, very pretty that we can use to remind us how special we are. And I like this one here because it's got Hello Lovely and it's got the butterfly. And you can see here by the white Signo pens worked on it, the inks worked on it. It's just up to your imagination how much you decorate your candle. But also, like I said, be careful. This candle has been done a second time. That's why it's just a little bit dimply. I did one and I took it off. So you can actually take it off if it doesn't work and start again, but you do get a little bit of a texture in your candle then. So thank you everyone, and I hope you enjoy International Women's Day. Make sure you go to Live Art Journaling and Self-Development and have a look at all the other videos that are on the hop. Also go to my page artshedangel.com if you want to have a look at my stamps. You're with Lucy. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.